This is Mary Mellon, otherwise known as Typhoid Mary. She is infamous for being the cause and trigger of a number of typhoid outbreaks in New York City at the turn of the 20th century. Mary was born in Ireland in 1869, and it's thought that she might have been born with typhoid fever because her mother was infected during the pregnancy. At the age of 15, she emigrated to America, and she initially lived with her aunt and uncle, working as a maid to various families, but then she worked her way up to being a cook. And then between 1900 and 1907, Mary worked as a cook for a number of affluent families in New York City. And although Mary always appeared to be healthy, a pattern began to emerge in which a number of the other domestic servants that she worked with, as well as family members, began to fall ill with typhoid. In fact, between that 7-year period, Mary worked for 8 families, 7 of whom contracted typhoid fever. In 1906, Mary was working for a banker called Charles Henry Warren. She lived and worked at their rented house in Oyster Bay, Long Island. And when 6 of the 11 people in the household fell ill, the owners hired George Soper, a civil engineer, to investigate the cause. And through a process of elimination and looking into Mary's past employment, he figured out that there was a pattern of typhoid following her. Mary, however, denied any responsibility and said that she was healthy, so how could she be the infector? But of course, this whole time, Mary had been working in the kitchens, she'd been working with the other domestic staff, and through her being there and breathing, she had been spreading the typhoid fever. This investigation, however, triggered her arrest, and she did not go quietly. It apparently took 5 officers to actually arrest her, and when she was being transported in an ambulance, an officer said that it was like being trapped in a cage with an angry lion. Despite Mary's protests, she was held in isolation at a clinic on North Brother Island. And after 3 years of being basically imprisoned, she was allowed to leave so long as she never cooked again. She agreed, and she initially worked in laundries, but this didn't really pay the same wage as a cook, and so she changed her name to Mary Brown, and she resumed working in kitchens, including the Sloan Hospital for Women. And unsurprisingly, in 1915, this had a huge typhoid outbreak. 25 people were infected at the hospital, and 2 of them died. And so, of course, an investigation was launched with the same investigator as before, and of course he instantly recognised Mary. Mary instantly fled, but she was recaptured and she was placed back again in quarantine on North Brother Island. And Mary's the one there with the black coat without the blanket on her because she isn't feeling the symptoms even though she is infected. Of course, by this time there was a lot of media attention surrounding Mary, and there were all of these rumours that she had infected thousands of people, and so she gained the name, which she hated, of Typhoid Mary. Mary actually remained on North Brother for more than 23 years. She was given a private 1-storey cottage, but she was a prisoner. And from 1918, she was allowed to take day trips to the mainland. And she actually lived the rest of her life on that island until she died at the age of 69 in 1938. It's a bit difficult to know whether this was the right course of action for Mary because although she was perfectly healthy, she did pose a risk to others and she didn't acknowledge that, which is what the problem was for the authorities. The ethical and legal issues surrounding her forced isolation are still much discussed today.